Hey, what's up, guys? I'm going to be going over the court docs for the Rex Human case, and I got a hold of the docs with the help of with the help of my brother A.R. Hayes. I asked him where I could find him at, and he let me know. So I went there and I got a hold of him. Now, the court doc is so big. This is going to be at least a 2 or 3 part series that I'm going to be doing on this. Let's get into it, guys. County Court of Suffolk County, State of New York. The people, the people of the State of New York versus Rex A. Heuermann. Defendant Rex A. Heuermann stands before the court charged by the grand jury with murder in the first degree in violation of New York State Penal Law Section 125.27, Class A1 felony for the death of Melissa Bartholomew on July 10th of 2009. Murder in the first degree of Megan Waterman on or about June 6, 2010. Murder in the first degree for the death of Amber Costello on or about September 2nd, 2010. Murder in the second degree for the death of Melissa Bartholomew on July 10th, 2009. Murder in the second degree for the death of Megan Waterman on or about June 6, 2010. And murder in the second degree for the death of Amber Costello on or about September 2nd, 2010. As described below, based on the serious, heinous nature of these serial murders, the planning and forethought that went into these crimes, the strength of the people's case, the length of the incarceration the defendant faces upon conviction, the extended period of time that this defendant was able to avoid apprehension, his recent searches for sadistic materials, child pornography, images of the victims and their relatives, counter surveillance conducted online as to the criminal investigation, his use of fictitious names, burner email, and cell phone accounts, and his access to the history of possessing firearms. The only means to ensure defendant Rex A. Heuermann's return to court is to remand him without bail. Discovery of the victims. On December 11th, 2010, police officer John Malia was conducting a training exercise with his canine partner Blue along Ocean Parkway in Gilgo Beach, Suffolk County, New York. During the course of the training exercise, Blue located a set of human remains. The remains were later identified to be those of Melissa Bartholomew. 2 days later, on December 13th, 2010, my bad, the SPD continued to search in proximity to where the remains of Melissa Bartholomew were recovered. On that date, members of the SPD found 3 additional set of human remains within 1/4 mile of the first discovery. These 3 additional sets of remains were identified as those of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. The cause of death of all 4 women were determined to be homicidal violence. Well, no duh. The investigations into these deaths were linked as, in addition to other factors, the victims each appeared to have been placed in close proximity to one another, 22 to 33 feet from edge of the parkway. All were petite females, approximately 22 to 27 years old, believed to be working as sex workers. All had missing clothing and personal possessions. All had been killed by homicide. All had contact shortly before their disappearance with a person using a burner cell phone without an associated verified identity and the cell phones of two of the four victims. Although the defendant is not charged with any crimes as to the disappearance and murder of Miss Brainerd Barnes, as set forth below, defendant Rex A. Heuermann is the prime suspect in her death and the investigation, which is continuing and is expected to be resolved soon. Moreover, there is substantial evidence of defendant Heuermann's involvement in the disappearance and death of Miss Brainerd Barnes, which evidence closely fits the modus operandi of the defendant in relation to the deaths of the other three women, and which supports the current charges. Such this bail application continues descriptions of this evidence, which demonstrates the strength of the people's case as currently charged, and bail is not granted. Brainerd, Barnes, and Bartholomew were used by the killer after their deaths. In addition, each of the four victims were found similarly positioned, bound in a similar fashion by either belts or tape, with three of the victims found wrapped in a burlap type material. This goes back to what Dennis Rader said in an interview, that Rex Heuermann was his copycat, because how these people are being found with either belts or tape is the same way that BTK bound his victims. He bound them with either belts or tape, and they were found wrapped in a burlap material or burlap type material. Now, I don't know if Dennis ever did anything like that, Mr. Rader. I mean, he could have did that, putting it over their heads to suffocate them, but just the same. The MO is almost like a BTK copycat, how they were bound with either tape or a belt, because that's what Rader used to do. He would bound his victims with either a belt or tape. In January 2022, the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office assigned an experienced team of investigators, analysts, and prosecutors to work jointly with law enforcement partners from the Suffolk County Police Department, New York State Police, Suffolk County Sheriff's Office, and Federal Bureau of Investigation. A comprehensive review of each item of evidence and information in this investigation was undertaken by the team on March 14th, 2022. Approximately 2 months into the renewed joint investigation, this comprehensive review led to the discovery of a first-generation Chevy Avalanche that was registered to defendant Rex A. Heuermann at the time of these murders. As described below, this was significant because witness to the disappearance of Amber Costello identified a first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche as the vehicle believed to have been driven by her killer. Now, there's a lot of other stuff coming out about Rex Heuermann. He could have been killing for a lot longer than what we all thought. They're linking him to murders clear back to 1993. So he could be a very prolific serial killer, maybe tying with Ted Bundy or the Green River Killer. We don't know to that extent yet, but he is being linked to murders as far back as 1993. The discovery led to a comprehensive investigation of defendant Heuermann, which consisted of over 300 subpoenas, search warrants, and other legal processes to obtain evidence. As discussed more fully below, among the items uncovered were cell phone billing records for defendant Heuermann, corresponding to cell site locations for one, the burner cell phones used to arrange meetings with three of the four victims, two, the taunting calls made to a relative of Miss Barthélemy, number three, a call made by a detective to Ms. Barthélemy's cell phone while looking into her disappearance, and four, calls checking voicemail on Miss Brainard Barnes' cell phone after her disappearance. In addition, Heuermann lived in Massapequa Park, where the victims were believed to have disappeared from, and he worked in Midtown Manhattan in the vicinity of where the taunting calls were made to the sister of Miss Barthélemy. As set forth more fully below, defendant Rex A. Heuermann is believed to be the person who used the burner cell phones to communicate with each of the four victims prior to their disappearance, and who used Miss Brainard Barnes' cell phone and Miss Barthélemy's cell phone after their deaths. Both defendant Heuermann and these burner cell phones have significant connections to both Midtown Manhattan and Massapequa Park, New York. It sounds like they're really getting into this. Mr. Heuermann sounds like to be a very sick, twisted, and demented individual. And there's new stuff also coming out as his daughter might possibly be involved because her hair or her strands of her hair was found on some of the victims. The disappearance and murder of Maureen Brainard Barnes. Maureen Brainard Barnes was last seen on July 9th, 2007 in New York. At that time, she was believed to be working as a sex worker. On July 6, 2007, Miss Brainard Barnes' cell phone was contacted by a burner cell phone between July 6th and July 9th. There were 16 interactions between this burner phone and Brainard Barnes' cell phone. On July 9th, 2007, the last cell site location for Brainard Barnes' cell phone was approximately at 11:56 p.m. in Midtown Manhattan, near 59th Street Bridge. Thereafter, the Brainard Barnes cell phone had no further activity until July 12, 2007. On July 12, 2007, 3 days after her disappearance, two outbound calls were made from Brainard Barnes' cell phone, checking her voicemail from a cell site location near the Long Island Expressway in Islinda. Okay, that's the first mistake he did, was using her cell phone to check her voicemails. Miss Barthélemy was last seen on July 10, 2009 in New York City. At the time, she was believed to be working as a sex worker. On July 3rd, 2029, Miss Barthélemy was contacted by a burner cell phone. Thereafter, the Barthélemy cell phone was contacted by this burner cell phone on July 6th, July 9th, and July 10th, 2009, which was the last day she was seen alive. On July 10th, 2009, cell site records indicate the burner cell phone traveled from Massapequa Park to Midtown Manhattan. Later that evening, the Barthélemy cell phone traveled from Midtown Manhattan to Massapequa, with the last cell site location being in Massapequa on July 11, 2009. At approximately 1:43 p.m. or a.m. on July 11, 2009, Miss Barthelme's cell phone was used to make an outbound call, checking her voicemail from a cell site location in Freeport. On July 11th and 12th, 2009, the Barthelme phone made two more outbound calls, checking her voicemail from cell site locations in Babylon. On July 7th, July 23rd, July 17th, July 23rd, and August 5th, August 19th, and August 26th, 2009, the Barthelme phone made taunting phone calls to Miss Barthelme's family members, some of which resulted in a conversation between the caller, who was a male, and a relative of Melissa Barthelme, in which the male caller admitted killing and sexually assaulting Miss Barthelme. As described below, the cell site locations of the Barthelme phone during these taunting calls were all in Midtown Manhattan. You got to be a sick individual to taunt the victims' families. That's an absolutely horrid, disgusting, and an evil person. And it also shows you he's sloppy. He's sloppy because after killing them, he's using their cell phones to check their voicemail. Now, why would he be checking their voicemail? To see if anybody missed them? To see if anyone is calling to see if they're okay? Now, I understand these women are sex workers, but that doesn't make them any less human. They all have family that loves them. They all have moms and dads and kids, brothers and sisters that love them and that miss them. And just because they're sex workers does not make them expendable. Megan Waterman was last seen alive at the Holiday Inn in Happaquack, New York, on June 6, 2010, at approximately 1:30 a.m. At that time, she was believed to be working as a sex worker. On June 5th, 2010, Ms. Waterman's cell phone was contacted by another burner cell phone, which had just been activated that day. Thereafter, the Waterman phone communicated with this burner cell phone on June 6, 2010, at approximately 1:31 a.m., which is around the time Megan Waterman was captured on video surveillance exiting the Holiday Inn in Happaquack for the last time. Following that communication, the burner cell phone had no further phone activity. However, cell site records show that the Waterman phone traveled from Massapequa Park, with the last cell site location being in Massapequa Park at approximately 3:11 a.m. in the vicinity of the residence of defendant Heuermann. Amber Costello was last seen alive on September 2nd, 2010, leaving her residence at 1112 America Avenue in West Babylon during the late evening hours. At that time, she was believed to be working as a sex worker. There we go again. These women were sex workers, but that doesn't mean they're expendable. They still have people that love them, and they still have people that was probably trying to help them get out of this lifestyle. But along came Heuermann, and he ended their life. On September 1st, 2010, the day prior to the disappearance of Amber Costello, Miss Costello's cell phone was contacted by a burner cell phone. On September 1st, 2010, this burner cell phone had communicated with the Costello phone approximately 11:33 p.m. and 11:34. During those communications, the burner cell phone connected to cell site towers in West Amityville and Massapequa Park. Thereafter, the burner cell phone traveled to West Babylon in proximity to the residence of Amber Costello and had contact with the Costello phone at approximately 12:05 a.m. on September 2nd, 2010. According to witnesses around that time of these communications between the burner cell phone and the Costello cell phone on September 1st and 2nd, 2010, a prostitution client showed up at Ms. Costello's residence located in West Babylon, New York. After the client entered the home, a, a rouse was executed on the client whereby a person pretended to be the outraged boyfriend of Amber Costello, and the client left from the residence while Amber Costello retained the money the client had brought to pay for her services. Based upon interviews, that client was described as a large white male, approximately 6'4" to 6'6" in height, in his mid 40s, with dark bushy hair and big oval 1970s type eyeglasses. A witness described him to police as appearing like an ogre. Hey, where's Shrek when you need him? Furthermore, a witness noticed a first generation Chevy Avalanche parked in the driveway of the residence. According to the witness, following the ruse, this client said he was just her friend. Tell her I'll give her a call, and walked out the front door. Thereafter, approximately 1:18 on September 2nd, after the ruse had been perpetrated, the burner cell phone sent a text message to the Costello phone, which stated, "That was not nice. So do I get credit for it next time?" Phone records show that the burner phone was located in Massapequa Park within 2 minutes of this text message being sent. According to a witness later, the next day on September 2nd, Ms. Costello was again contacted by the same client that was in the house the night before with the avalanche. Further, Amber told us that he wanted to see her again, but he didn't want to come back to the house because of her boyfriend. Thereafter, on September 2nd, at approximately 9:32 p.m., the same burner cell phone from the previous evening again communicated with the Costello phone. During this communication, the burner cell phone used a cell site location in Midtown Manhattan. Following this communication and based upon the cell site records, the burner cell phone traveled to Massapequa Park and had contacts with the Costello phone approximately 10:39 p.m. and 11:05 p.m. Cell site records for the burner phone indicate that at approximately 11:17 p.m. the phone traveled to West Babylon and approximately to the residence of Amber Costello. Subsequently, Amber Costello left her own cell phone behind, walked out the front door of the residence, and was never seen alive again. Shortly after Ms. Costello left the house, a witness observed a dark colored truck pass the house, specifically coming from the direction Amber had walked towards. I'm going to be digging into this case, guys. Now, mind you, this can be a three-part series because this is a big court doc. So this is going to be part one. Rex Heuermann is a disgusting individual. He's evil personified. And in one of the other series I'm going to be doing on this, there is mention of his daughter's hair being found on some of the victims. So, could his daughter possibly be involved? Like always, guys, like, comment, subscribe to my channel, hit that share button, and don't forget to hit that join button as well for members only perks, members shout outs, members lives, members videos, and hit that bell notification for any new uploads. You all have a good Saturday. This is TCC out. Peace.